Well, Jamie, the way this works is the groups of migrants are first brought to this processing centre at that port in Albania. That is where we believe they actually fill in the paperwork for applying for asylum inside Italy, and then they are then taken to an accommodation centre that's also been built that's only about a 15-minute drive away from that initial processing centre. While they're in those two facilities, they are under Italian law, Italian jurisdiction throughout, and then once they get a result on their asylum application, they will either be taken to Italy if it's approved, or they're taken back to their home country if it is denied. Now, as this first group arrived at this centre in Albania, we did also see a small group of protesters outside, and I think that really reflects the huge amount of anger that there is here in Italy amongst opposition groups, but also amongst NGOs that work on migrant rights. You have one Italian member of parliament who's described this as Italy's Guantanamo, a reference there, of course, to the US detaining people in its military base on the island of Cuba. The Italian right-wing coalition government has really defended this policy, this new policy that it's created with Albania, by saying that it's only what they describe as non-vulnerable men who are going to be brought to this centre, no women or children whatsoever, and it's also only men who come from what they define as safe countries.
Italy is driving this plan. What's the response from other EU countries, and will they follow suit?
Well, as we heard from Will in Brussels just a few minutes ago, Giorgia Meloni, the Italian Prime Minister, amongst a host of other European leaders, is heading to Brussels for a two-day European Council summit on Thursday and Friday. But on the sidelines of that, she's also co-hosting, alongside her Dutch and Danish counterparts, this sort of informal meeting, which they say is going to be about discussing innovative solutions to irregular migration. And we've also seen the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, a very powerful voice in Brussels, of course, sort of signalling some support for this. She wrote a letter to the leaders of the EU saying that they should be exploring the concept of what she described as return hubs outside the EU. So that is something that, with that kind of language, sounds very similar to what Italy has done inside Albania. Just finally, Jamie, I think it is worth noting as well that Ursula von der Leyen and Giorgia Meloni have worked very closely together, despite some recent tensions, but over a long time, over the issue of migration, in particular brokering that deal together that the EU did with Tunisia, which has really been credited with slowing the numbers of migrants crossing the Mediterranean Sea from northern Africa.
Giles, thank you for that. Our correspondent Giles Gibson in Rome.